Warning: being too kind can ruin your life. Most people are taught the same lesson from childhood. Be kind. Be helpful. Think about others. Treat people the way you want to be treated. On the surface, that sounds like great advice. And it is. But there's a dangerous detail that almost nobody talks about. Kindness is a strength. Too much kindness can become a weakness. The difference between the two is smaller than most people realize. Many people spend years believing that if they're good to others, others will eventually be good to them. They believe that if they keep helping, sacrificing, forgiving, and understanding, life will reward them for it. But reality doesn't always work that way. In fact, some of the most stressed, exhausted, and disappointed people aren't selfish. They're the people who never learned where kindness should end. And that's where the danger begins. One of the first warning signs of excessive kindness is that people slowly start taking it for granted. Think about it. The first time you go out of your way to help someone, they appreciate it. The second time, they thank you again. The 10th time, they expect it. What was once seen as generosity becomes normal. And once something becomes normal, people stop noticing it. Human beings adapt surprisingly fast. If you're always available, people get used to your availability. If you're always solving problems, people begin expecting solutions. If you're always saying yes, eventually your yes stops feeling valuable. The sad part is that many kind people don't see this happening. They continue giving more and more, hoping their efforts will be appreciated. But appreciation often fades when something becomes predictable. Another problem is that excessive kindness attracts the wrong people. Not everyone, of course. Many people genuinely appreciate kindness. But some people see kindness differently. They see it as an opportunity. They quickly notice who struggles to say no, who avoids confrontation, who feels guilty setting boundaries, who constantly puts everyone else's needs ahead of their own. And once they find someone like that, they push. A little at first, then a little more, then a little more, until the relationship becomes completely one-sided. The frightening part is that this often happens so gradually that the person being used doesn't realize what's happening until they're already exhausted. There's another consequence that nobody talks about. When you're constantly focused on making everyone else comfortable, you slowly stop paying attention to yourself. Your goals get delayed. Your needs get ignored. Your energy gets drained. Your priorities get pushed to the side. Day after day, month after month, year after year. At first, it feels noble. It feels selfless. But eventually, many people wake up and realize they've spent so much time taking care of everyone else's life that they've neglected their own. And that's a painful realization. One of the biggest myths about kindness is that it automatically creates respect. Unfortunately, that's not always true. Respect and kindness are related, but they aren't the same thing. Many people assume that being endlessly accommodating will make others respect them more. But often the opposite happens. People tend to respect those who value their own time, energy, and boundaries. When someone constantly sacrifices themselves for others, some people begin to view those sacrifices as normal rather than admirable. That's why some of the kindest people often feel the least respected. Not because they lack value, but because they've spent years showing others that their own needs come last. And then there's resentment, the emotion nobody expects. Most people think resentment comes from anger, but sometimes resentment comes from giving too much. Imagine constantly helping everyone around you, always being there, always understanding, always forgiving, always putting yourself second. At first, it feels right, but deep inside, frustration begins building. You start wondering why nobody checks on you, why nobody offers the same support, why nobody seems willing to make the sacrifices you've made. The truth is that resentment often grows when kindness is given without limits. Not because kindness is bad, but because imbalance eventually creates frustration. Perhaps the biggest danger of being too kind is that it can make you lose your identity. You become so focused on being what everyone else needs that you forget who you are. You become known as the reliable person, the helpful person, the understanding person, the person who never complains, the person who never says no. But beneath that image, your own voice becomes quieter and quieter, until one day you realize you've built your life around other people's expectations. And that's not kindness. That's self-neglect. The world doesn't need less kindness. It needs smarter kindness. The kind that includes boundaries. The kind that allows you to help others without destroying yourself. The kind that understands that saying no isn't cruelty. Protecting your peace isn't selfish. And valuing your own needs doesn't make you a bad person. In fact, the healthiest people are often the ones who understand this balance. They're generous. They're compassionate. They're caring. But they also know where to draw the line. Because they understand something many people learn too late. If you give everything away, eventually there will be nothing left for you. So be kind. Be compassionate. Help people when you can. But never forget this warning. The people who suffer the most are rarely the ones who care too little. They're often the ones who care too much. And if you're not careful, excessive kindness won't just cost you your energy. It can cost you your time, your happiness, your peace of mind, and even your sense of self.